Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's lesson on the law of demand. I am excited to explore this concept with you because it explains something you experience every day in the market. Think about this. Before then, we are considering market and demand, consumer decision making at the strand, and sub-strand demand for goods and services. We are considering focal area 1, the law of demand. Think about this. When the price of your favorite snack goes down, do you buy more of it? And when the price goes up, do you buy less? Today, we are going to discover why this happens and learn the economic principle behind it. Before we dive in, I want you to think. These are the learning outcomes and objectives I expect first. At the end of the day, we should have. Why do people buy less of something? By the end of this lesson, when the learner should be able to observe how prices changes at your school canteen. If the price doubles, would you buy the same amount? 2. Second, identify the relationship between price and quantity demand people want to buy. And 3, state the law of demand. Is it a direct relationship or an inverse one? Explain 3, the concept of can we represent this relationship using tables or other things and graphs being equal? Can we visualize? Finally, apply this law to real life market situations. Why is it important to keep all other things equal when studying demand? What other factors might affect how much people buy? Keep these questions in mind as you go through today's lesson. We will answer them together. Before we dive in, I want you to think about these questions. First, why do people buy less of something when the price goes up? Think about the bread at your school canteen. If the price doubles, would you buy the same amount? Second, what is the relationship between price and quantity people want to buy? Is it a direct relationship or an inverse one? 3, how can we represent this relationship using tables and graphs? Can we visualize it? 4, why is it important to keep all other things equal when studying demand? What other factors might affect how much people buy? Keep these questions in mind as you go through today's lesson. We will answer them together. Look at this market, the picture on the screen. A close-up of a buyer handling money to a seller and receiving change. Let's assume that he's selling dairy as part of the thing that he's selling over there, apart from the vegetables. And you see that this is a clear exchange of goods and service between the buyer and the seller. Round 1. Price of Gary is 2 Ghana cedis per cup. How many cups will you buy? Alright, everyone, welcome to round 1 of our market. I'm selling Gary 2 Ghana cedis. This is a very good price, very affordable. Now think about this. At 2 Ghana cedis per cup, how many cups of Gary will you buy? Will you buy 1 cup, 2 cups, 5 cups, or 10 cups? Write it somewhere. Take a moment to think about your answer. Consider your budget, your appetite, and how much you like Gary. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to write down your answer. Write the number of cups you will buy at this price. Great. Everyone has written down their answer for round 1. Keep that number in mind. We will come back to it. Round 2. Now we move to round 2. The price has changed. Gary is now 4 Ghana cedis per cup. That's double the price from round 1. It's more expensive now. Think about this. At 4 Ghana cedis per cup, how many cups will you buy? Will you buy the same amount as before, more or less? Remember, everything else is the same. Your income, your taste, the availability of other goods, only the price has changed. Take 30 seconds to write down your new answer. How many cups will you buy at 4 Ghana cedis? Good. You have recorded your answer for round 2. Notice, did your quantity change compared to round 1? We are in round 3 now. The price has gone up again. Gary is now 6 Ghana cedis. That is quite expensive. It's 3 times the original price from round 1. At this higher price, how many cups will you buy? Think carefully. Your budget is limited. Will you buy fewer cups, maybe just 1 cup, or none at all? Remember, everything else stays the same, only the price changes. So the price is getting higher. And how many cups now? Take 30 seconds to write down your answer. How many cups will you buy at 6 Ghana cedis? Excellent. You have recorded your answer for round 3. Are you noticing a pattern yet? We are in the final round, round 4. The price has increased once more. Gary is now 8 Ghana cedis per cup. This is very high price, 4 times the original price from round 1. At this very high price, how many calves will you buy? You might buy very few calves, or maybe none at all. You might decide to buy something else instead. Think about it. At 8 Ghana cedis per calf, how many calves will you buy? Take 30 seconds to write down your final answer. How many calves will you buy at 8 Ghana cedis? The price is very high now. How many calves? Perfect. You have completed all 4 rounds of the market situation or scenario. Now let's look at what happened. Your demand schedule or table. So you have the table with 4 rows and 3 columns. Run, price, in Ghana cedis and quantity you wanted in caps. That is Gary. The first round we have 2. Second round you have price as 4. Third have price at 6. And the fourth round you have price at 8. You're supposed to fill in your quantities from the one you wrote. Now let's create your personal demand schedule. A demand schedule is simply a table that shows the quantity you wanted to buy at each price. Look at this table on the screen. It has 4 rows, 1 for each run. In the first column, you see the run number. In the second column, you see the price. In the third column, I want you to write the quantity you decide to buy at each price. So for run 1 at 2 Ghana cedis, write the number of calves you wanted to buy. For run 2 at 4 Ghana cedis, write the quantity, and so on for run 3 and 4 respectively. Take a moment to fill in your table. Write your 4 quantities. I'm pausing for some seconds. Within 30 to 60 seconds. Great. Everyone has their personal demand schedule. Now let's look at the pattern. Now let's analyze the data you collected. Look at your demand schedule. I want you to observe the pattern. As the price increased from 2 to 8, what happened to the quantity you wanted to buy? Did it go up? Did it go down? Or did it stay the same? Think about it carefully. At 2 Ghana cedis, you probably wanted to buy a larger quantity. At 8 Ghana cedis, you probably wanted to buy a smaller quantity. So the pattern is, as price increased, quantity demanded decreased. This is not a coincidence. This is a fundamental principle in economics. Let me ask you, why did you think this happened? Why did you want to buy less as the price went up? Exactly, because when something is more expensive, you can afford less of it. Or you might choose to buy something else instead. This is a natural human behavior. This pattern, higher price leads to lower quantity demanded, is so consistent and important that economists have given it a special name. It's called the law of demand. Now, comparing our data, let's look at the bigger picture. I've collected data from, you assume that you all have your data there. And I want to show you something interesting. Even though each of you made individual decisions, there's a clear pattern when we look at everyone's data together. When we look at everyone's data together, here is the average demand schedule for our entire class. That's what you have on the screen. At 2 Ghana cedis per cup, on average, we wanted to buy about 8 cups. At 4 Ghana cedis per cup, on average, we wanted to buy 5 cups. At 6 Ghana cedis per cup, on average, we wanted to buy 3 cups. And at finally 8 Ghana cedis per cup, we wanted to buy on average 1 cup. Notice the pattern. As the price doubled, tripled, quadrupled, the quantity demanded fell consistently. This is remarkable. Even though you all made independent decisions, the pattern is clear and predictable. This is the power of the law of demand. It describes how people behave in markets. Let's have a real life connection. A close up of a buyer handling money to a seller and receiving change. Have you noticed this in real life? Now let me connect this to your real life. Have you noticed this pattern in the market you visit? Think about the school canteen. When bread is cheap, say 1 Ghana cedi per loaf, many students buy it. But when the price goes up to 3 Ghana cedis per loaf, fewer students buy it. Some might bring bread from home instead. Or think about the market in Kumasi. That's the second scenario. When tomatoes are in season and cheap, people buy lots of them. But when they are out of season and expensive, people buy fewer tomatoes or switch to other vegetables. This is the law of demand in action. It's not just an economic theory. It's something you see every day in your community. This is why understanding the law of demand is so important. It helps us understand how markets work, how prices are set, and how people make decisions about what to buy. This leads us to the introduction of the law of demand. The law of demand. Based on your experience in the market that we just discussed and your observation of real market we can now formally state the law of demand. The law of demand, say it after me, states when the price of a good increases, the quantity demanded decreases. When the price of a good increases, the quantity demanded increases, assuming all other factors stay the same. In simple terms, higher price is equal to lower quantity demanded. Lower price is equal to higher quantity demanded. Inverse relationship exists. Why do people buy less when prices rise? There are three main reasons, and understanding these will help you see why the law of demand is so logical. First, the substitution effect. When the price of one good increases, it becomes relatively more expensive compared to similar goods, so consumers switch to cheaper alternatives. Let me give you a concrete example. Suppose you like to drink Milo. It's your favorite, but one day the price of Milo increases significantly. Let's say it doubles. At the same time, Rich Choco, another chocolate drink, stays at the same price. What do? You must switch to Rich Choco. You are substituting one product for another because the price difference makes Rich Choco more attractive. This is the substitution effect. Higher prices make a good less attractive relative to its substitutes, so people buy less of it and more of the alternative. Second is the income effect. That's your wallet with your money. When prices rise, your money does not go as far. Your purchasing power decreases. Let me explain with an example. Imagine you have 50 Ghana cedis to spend on drinks for the week. If a bottle of Milo costs 5 Ghana cedis, you can buy 10 bottles. But if the price increases to 10 Ghana cedis per bottle, you can only buy 5 bottles with the same 50 Ghana cedis. It's like your income has effectively decreased. You can buy less with the same amount of money. This is the income effect. When prices rise, you can afford to buy less. Even if your actual income hasn't changed, your real purchasing power has decreased. And the last one on the list is the diminishing marginal utility. This is a bit more complex, but here is the idea. The satisfaction you get from each additional unit of a good decreases as you consume more. Think about Gary. The first cup of Gary you buy gives you great satisfaction. You are hungry. The second cup is still good, but slightly less satisfying than the first. The third cup is even less satisfying. But the fifth cup, you are probably full and don't want any more. Each additional cup gives you less satisfaction. We call this diminishing marginal utility. Marginal means additional, and utility means satisfaction. So marginal utility is the satisfaction from one more unit. Now, here's how this relates to price. When prices are high, you only buy what gives you the most satisfaction. Maybe just 1 or 2 cups. You are not willing to pay a high price for the third or fourth cup because they give you less satisfaction. But when prices are low, you might buy more because even the less satisfying units are worth it at that low price. So all these effects work together: substitution, income, and diminishing marginal utility. They all explain why people buy less when prices rise and more when prices fall. Understanding the ceteris paribus, which is a Latin word which simply means all other things being equal. Now let's talk about a very important concept: ceteris paribus. This is a Latin phrase that means all other things being equal or holding other things constant. Why is this important? Because in the real world, many things change at the same time. But when we study the law of demand, we want to isolate just the relationship between price and quantity demanded. So we want to see what happens when only the price changes and everything else stays the same. In our market situation, we kept everything constant. Your income stayed the same. Your taste for garri didn't change. No new seller appeared. No other goods became available. Your expectation about future prices didn't change. This allows you to see the true relationship between price and quantity demanded. In real life, of course, many things change at once. Your income might increase. Your preferences might change. New products might become available. But economists use the concept of ceteris paribus to study one relationship at a time. Think of it like a science experiment. In a science lab, you change one variable and keep everything else constant to see the effect. That's what ceteris paribus does in economics. So a list of these factors, be it income, preference, or taste, price of related goods, number of consumers, expectation about future prices, etc., were held constant. So these are some of the factors that were held constant when you wanted to see how a change in price will affect quantity. Now let's focus on the demand schedule. What is a demand schedule? We have seen example table, demand schedule for garri. At the price of 2, 20 cups were demanded. At the price of 4, 10 cups were demanded. 5, 8, 8, 5, then 10, 4. So a demand schedule definition. A demand schedule is a table that shows the quantity demanded at different prices. It's a simple way to represent the relation between price and quantity. Here how we let me show you an example from the table that we just saw. The price 2, 4, 6, 8, then 10. On the right hand, we have the corresponding quantity demanded 20, 10, up to 4 calves. What does it tell us? At price 2, buyers want 20 calves. At price 10 Ghana cedis, buyers want only 4 calves. As the price increased from 2 to 10, the quantity demanded fell from 20 calves to 4 calves. This confirms the law of demand. As the price increased from, notice this. This is similar to your personal demand schedule from the market that we discussed when the price of Gari was changed from round 1 through to round 4. The pattern is the same. Higher prices, lower quantity demanded. A demand schedule is useful because it shows exact numbers, but sometimes we want to see the relationship visually. That's where the demand curve comes in. So with the demand curve, we are going to see the definition or visualization of it. What's the demand curve? We are going to see the definition. When it comes to the diagram or the curve, we are going to see a downward sloping demand curve. The axis label price is the vertical one, while the quantity demanded is labeled on the horizontal or the x-axis. What is demand curve? A demand curve is a graph that shows the relationship between price and quantity demanded. It's created by plotting the data from a demand schedule on a graph, whereby you place prices on the vertical axis and you place the quantity on the horizontal axis. So look at the diagram on the screen now. We had this exactly from the table that demand schedule for Gari. From the data we saw that at the price of 2, quantity demanded was 20, and at the price of 10, quantity demanded was 4. Here, how we create it on the vertical axis, as I just said, that's y-axis. We put the price in cedis. On the horizontal axis, s-axis, we put the quantity demanded on the s-axis. We plot each price quantity combination as a point. Then we connect the points to create a curve. So you have seen it over there. Look at the demand curve on the screen. What do you notice about this shape? It slopes downwards from left to right. This downward slope is very important. It visually represents the law of demand. As you move from left to right, that the quantity decreases. You move downward, price decreases. As you move from right to left, quantity decreases. You move up, price increases. Why is the demand curve useful? Because It shows the overall trend and pattern at a glance. You can see immediately that there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity. The demand curve is one of the most important tools in economics. It helps us visualize and understand market behavior. Now, we consider demand function, that is mathematical representation. Now, let's introduce the demand function. This is a mathematical equation that expresses the ratio between price and quantity demanded. The general form is quantity, or QD is a function of price. QD is a function of P, where Q is quantity demanded, F is a function of, and P is what? Price of the commodity. So where Q is quantity demanded, P price, F is a function of. That's a mathematical relationship. In simple terms, the demand function describes how the quantity demanded changes as the price changes. Let me show you a concrete example from the screen. QD is equal to 50 minus 0.5 price, 0.5 price. This equation tells us that quantity demand equals 50 minus 0.5 times the price. Let's calculate some values. Work examples with calculations. If P is 10 Ghana cedis, we are going to substitute the values of P in the equation. So now you have QD being equal to 50 minus 0.5 into bracket 10, which is P, is equal to 50, and 0.5 times 10 is 5. So 50 minus 5 is equal to 45 units. If P is 20, we have QD is equal to 50 minus 0.5, where P is 20. So we put P there. So now 0.5 times 20 will give you 10. So now you have 50 minus 10 is equal to 40 units. Observe this, that the price increases from 10 to 20, quantity demanded decreases from 45 to 40. Now if the price increases from 20 to 40, QD is equal to 50 minus 0.5 into bracket 40. So when you multiply, you're going to have 50 is equal to 20. Now 30 units. Notice, as the price increased from 10 to 40, quantity demand fell from 45 to 30 units. Again, the law of demand. Again, the law of demand is working here. The demand function is useful because it allows us to calculate the exact quantity demanded at any price. It's more precise than a demand schedule or curve. So we have three ways to represent the law of demand. You have the demand curve, demand table or schedule. We have the demand curve, and we have the demand function. All three show the same relationship, just in different formats. Now I wanted to analyze multiple demand curves. Look at the demand curve for Gary, demand curves for bread, demand curve for mobile phones, and demand curve for notebooks. So we are going to, this is a gallery work and applications. We have this multiple demand curve too. So now we are going to do a collaborative activity That's a gallery walk. So you are going to work through the screen. This is where we look at multiple examples and identify patterns. On the screen, I'm showing you 4 demand curves for different goods. One, gari, that's cassava meal. Second one is bread. Third one is mobile phone credit or mobile phones. And the fourth one is notebooks. I want you to observe these curves carefully. Look at their shapes. Look at how they are positioned. What do you notice? Are they all similar? Did they all slope downward? Take a moment to think about this. What does it tell us if all these different goods have downward sloping demand curves? A pause. I want you to ponder about it. Exactly, it tells us that the law of demand applies to all these goods, whether it's gari, bread, mobile phone, credit, or notebooks. When the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. This is a universal principle. It's not specific to one good or one market. It applies across different goods and services. This is why the law of demand is so important in economics. It's a fundamental principle that helps us understand how markets work. I want us to have this real life application by having these scenarios. About 3 scenarios. 1, bread at the school canteen. 2, gari doing a promotion. That's these 2 scenarios. Let's apply the law of demand to a real life scenario. This is scenario 1. Imagine the price of bread at your school canteen increases from 2 cedis to 4 cedis per loaf. Based on the law of demand, what will you expect to happen to the quantity of bread demanded by students? Think about it. The price has doubled. What will students do? Correct. The quantity of bread demanded will decrease. Students will buy less bread because it's now more expensive. Some students might bring bread from home instead. Others might buy alternative foods. This is the law of demand in action. The price increase causes a decrease in quantity demanded. Why is this important to understand? Because it helps us predict what market behavior. If a seller increases the price of bread, they can predict that fewer students will buy it. This helps them make business decisions. Let's go to the second one. Here, the second scenario, we're talking about gari doing a promotion. Imagine there's a promotion at the market. The price of gari drops from 5 cedis to 2 Ghana cedis per cup. Based on the law of demand, what will you expect to happen to the quantity of gari demanded? Think about it. The price has fallen significantly. What will buyers do? Exactly. The quantity of Gary demanded will increase. More people will buy Gary because it's now very affordable. People who normally buy other foods must switch to Gary. Existing buyers might buy more. This is the other side of the law of demand. The price decrease causes an increase in quantity demanded. Why is this important? Because it shows how price changes affect market behavior. When sellers want to increase sales, they can lower prices. When they want to increase revenue, they might raise prices, though this might reduce quantity demanded. Understanding the law of demand helps us make smart decisions as consumers and as future business people. Key takeaways. Let's summarize what we have learned today. 1. We discovered the law of demand through a market situation that we had, running from round 1 through to 4. We experienced firsthand how quantity demanded changes when price changes. The second one, we learned that the law of demand states when price increases, quantity demanded decreases, and vice versa. This is an inverse relationship. And the third one, we learn about ceteris paribus, the importance of keeping all other factors constant when studying the ratio between price and quantity. The next one, the fourth, we learn 3 ways to represent the law of demand: a demand schedule or table, a demand curve or graph, a demand function or equation. The fifth, we saw that the law of demand applies to all goods and services, from Gary to bread to mobile phone credit to notebooks. 6, that the last but not the least, we apply the law of demand to real life scenarios and saw how it helps us predict market behavior. These are the key concepts you need to remember. They form the foundation for understanding how markets work. Let's have this exit ticket. 3 questions here. In your own words, explain the law of demand using an example from your life. I take it again. In your own words, explain the law of demand using an example from your life. 2. What does ceteris paribus mean and why is it important when studying demand? And last but not the least, if the price of your favorite food increases, what will you expect to happen to the quantity you demand? Before we finish, I want to check your understanding. I'm going to give you an exit ticket as I've just given you. That will help me see what you have learned today. I repeat it. In your own words, explain the law of demand using an example from your life. Think about something you buy regularly. How does the price affect how much you buy? 2. What does ceteris paribus mean and why is it important when studying demand? Think about why we need to keep other factors constant. 3. If the price of your favorite food increases, what will you expect to happen to the quantity you demand? Why? Use the law of demand to explain your answer. I want you to write your answers on a piece of paper and submit it when you meet next academic year. Next semester when we resume in March. This will help me understand what you have learned and what we might need to review. Take about 3 minutes, some minutes to answer these questions. Be thoughtful and clear in your response. Preview the next lesson. Next lesson. Great work today. You have learned the law of demand, one of the most important principles in economics. Next lesson, we are going to explore the types of demand. You will discover that demand isn't always straightforward. Sometimes the demand for one good depends on the demand for another good. Sometimes goods are demanded together. Sometimes they are alternatives. We will explore 4 types of demand. Derived demand, when demand for one good comes from demand for another. Joint demand, when 2 goods are demanded together. Composite demand, when goods are alternatives. Competitive demand, when goods are alternatives. Composite demand, when one good has multiple uses. This will deepen your understanding of how markets work and how different goods are related. See you next lesson. Thank you and bye.